Welcome to Double Fries NOSLAW. It is Saturday night, and we are here to talk about FSU's big win over the Florida Gators on Friday night, Black Friday, to get their record to 9-3. The Noles crush the Gators' spirit and send them to 6-6 with a 45-38 win. Shout out Guthrie's. Appreciate their support. All of our sponsors will mention here in just a moment. If you're watching, if you're listening, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up. Hit the share button. Make sure you're subscribed here to the YouTube or podcast platform that you're listening on. And let's get after it. Richie, a good day yesterday. Eh? That was a pretty fun Black Friday. Well, I don't know where it ranks in my 30-plus Black Fridays that I've ever had, but it's pretty high up there. I feel like it might be number one. I don't know.
It's got to be the best. TJ, we are the state champs again. People laughed at the idea of 9, potentially 10 wins by the end of the season. A win over the Florida Gators, it wasn't pretty. But the fact that Florida State brought, in my opinion, their C game maybe, and still beat the Gators, it's a glorious day, and that will live for the next 365 days. Baby, go Noles. I love it.
Yeah, no, it really is pretty phenomenal. It was, I mean, we'll get into it and we'll talk about all of it and we'll, break it all down. But yeah, what a way to finish the year, right? And I think we all kind of expected, maybe a bigger result, a larger win, but it probably hurt a little bit worse that Florida had a chance late. So, yeah, let's jump after it. Let's give a quick shout out to Jeff Hill. Jeff, thanks for the super chat. Let's get our Fire Up the War chat. Let's get our super chat sound here.
Touchdown, Florida State! Touchdown, FSU!
FSU 9-3 finished the season by winning state champs. The only thing left is to put the icing on the cake and get 10 wins in a bowl game. Go Noles. We'll talk a little bit about bowl games, what possibilities are, what we think we may have. Is there a path to New Year's Six now? Clemson kind of screwed us over, but it was always great to see Dabo lose as a huge favorite. So cheers to Clemsoning on that. Jeff, thank you so much for your support there. All right, Richie, give me some of your instant reaction kind of thoughts. Let me get this shared a couple places, and we'll get after it.
Yeah, so and we're not going to be negative here, right? We just finished the season at a record that we thought was the ceiling, right? 9-3. So the defense disappointed last night. That's all I'm going to say negative. But man, that rushing attack is for real. Like Florida State and what Mike Norvell schemes up. Trey Benson, what he did to Kamari Wilson in that first quarter where he just pushed him aside. Like, kid, get out of my way.
He sunned him. Isn't that what the kids say now?
Yeah, it was so disrespectful, and I loved it. And I was watching the highlights again. I just posted it on Twitter. It's got like over 200 likes in like 20 minutes. But, man, Trey Benson, if he comes back, which I hope he does, he could be the best running back in the ACC next year. But Jordan Wilson, shout out him. He didn't have a great game, but he made a huge catch when it mattered the most. Jordan Travis, man, I cannot say enough good things about this kid. This is someone who transferred from Louisville, couldn't get on the field for seemingly years at Florida State, and now is going down to me as potentially a top 5 quarterback in Florida State history, top 10 easily. It's just amazing what he's done. That scramble when it should have been a touchdown when they called him down at like the half-yard line, like that should have been a sack for a loss of
that was
12 yards or whatever.
That wasn't a real play.
Yeah.
I'm it was that I was dreaming when that happened.
And it was the number 1 play on the SportsCenter top 10 for a reason. And how often does Florida State have the number 1 play on the SportsCenter top 10? The game itself, all-time classic, right? Like I thought we should have beat them by more. We kind of helped them out a little bit with some turnovers early on, a busted coverage or two. But it's what you expect from Florida State, right? And we talked about this on Wednesday, how this rivalry just means more, at least for me. And the way everything played out, man, I could not have asked for a better game. Being up 14 in the fourth quarter, having them come back to tie it up, only to go down. And for Trey Benson, of course, of all people, it had to be Benson or Travis, right? It couldn't be anybody else to go down and get that game-winning touchdown. Man, I'm going to be riding high for a long time after this game.
Man, we talked about this. You had some positivity toward the end of last year. You were 5-2, heading it, 5-2 over your last 7, heading into that game against UF, and you felt good about that, right? 5-2 down the stretch. I mean, you obviously started poorly, so 5-2 still just meant you were 5-6 overall, but you felt pretty good about that. You were somewhat, happy with the way that things were trending up, and then you lose to Florida, and it really does kind of put a bad taste in your mouth to finish the year. And so, would we have liked to win by more? I mean, absolutely. Did we have some opportunities to make this a little bit wider margin? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you got the win. Nobody asks, nobody says like, maybe loser Gator fans do, but nobody's asking, or nobody's saying like, well, at least we kept it close. Like, that's the most loser thing that I've ever heard in my life. And so, yeah, what a moment. What a way to finish. You're right. You're right on Benson and Travis. I saw that they have a co-branded shirt. So that's a great time for me to tell you guys about Salomon Digital Marketing. Appreciate them and appreciate their support. I have a link to their Twitter in the description here on YouTube. Go give them a follow. They've worked with both Jordan Travis. They work with AJ Duffy right now. If you follow them and retweet a tweet that they put out today, you can actually, I think you have to retweet, like, and follow. You can enter to win that pretty cool Jordan Travis shirt that I saw. So really good stuff there. Go to their page, check them out. That Jordan Travis Trey Benson shirt through Just Win Management. My guy Joe over there does a great job. But Salomon Digital Marketing, appreciate my guy TJ over there who does a great job giving back to not only FSU, but its student athletes. Go check them out. Link is in the description. You can follow both Salomon Digital Marketing and TJ, the CEO over there. It's not me. It's a different TJ, but appreciate them and their support. You talked about Jordan Travis. Here's what I maybe Jordan, listened to a few podcasts where I said that maybe Anthony Richardson had a little bit of an edge when it comes to running the ball because Jordan Travis was not only the better passer last night, he was the better runner too. And Richardson did okay running the ball. He went 10 for 41. But Jordan was much better, right? Like Jordan had a longer run. Jordan had a couple that got into the end zone. He had a better average, minus the sacks that he took, which I think he took 2 sacks. Is that right?
I think so.
Minus the couple of sacks, he would have been over 100 yards. And so, I think that, Jordan was really, really good on the ground yesterday. And proved that he's the best quarterback in the state. I think we all knew that. I don't think anybody's shocked by that by any means. But Jordan was certainly the best player in the game. He's the best quarterback in the state. He absolutely was a better passer and a runner last night. And shout out to him, man. His elusiveness was pretty spectacular. The way that he was able to get out of some should have been sacks was pretty remarkable. So shout out Jordan. You're right though. Trey Benson as well, just unreal. What he's done. All right. I don't want to give away like a future segment that we're about to do soon, but we are going to go back and we are going to, revisit our bold predictions, which I think we both did fairly well.
We hit pretty well on those. Yeah. I was going to say
really well. So Benson's getting pretty close to that 1,000-yard rushing season, and it's really come on late. He's 35 yards away from it. His average is ridiculous at 6.8 yards a carry. He's got 9 touchdowns. So if in the bowl game, we can get him 35 yards, which I think if he plays, will happen, right? So I like that. And if he doesn't, then that's fine. He's been pretty phenomenal this year. Offensive line was good. I thought Florida did a good job getting home with some blitzes, and that's where Jordan had to kind of escape a little bit. But I thought that they were really good. I thought they were what we needed in the game last night. I thought with receivers, I was really impressed with how Jordan spread the ball around so much. You mentioned Johnny Wilson not having his best game, but he did come up really clutch on that last drive. Also came up clutch on a third down earlier in the game on a pass on the home sideline. But Cam McDonald had 2 big catches. Malik McClain had a big long catch. Portier caught the touchdown. Pittman had a catch. Wilson had a catch. Preston Daniel had a catch. Trey Benson actually led you in receiving yards, which is pretty crazy. So I thought they did a good job of spreading it around and, just finding guys that were open, right? Wasn't Jordan's, best passing game or most efficient. Also got plagued with a few drops that certainly hurt. But overall, I thought that was really, really good. I'll do this. Let me give a shout out to Gramco, thegramco.com. We'll answer some questions here in the chat. We don't always answer the questions. We try to get you guys to use the super chat function, but we'll answer a few questions in the chat. I want to shout out thegramco.com. We did a great tailgate with them yesterday. Gramco was there. Guthrie's was there, obviously bringing the chicken. My guys over at Bay Canyon Beer Co. were there. We will probably, as long as it's in the state of Florida, we'll probably do one for the bowl game. So stay tuned for info on that. Because we'll want to hang out. We'll want to tailgate with you guys again. Hopefully you're going to the bowl game. But appreciate Gramco.
Give me Orlando, Gramco.
I'll take Orlando or Jacksonville. But yeah, Orlando would be.
It's going to be one of the two. We know that at this point. Yeah.
So appreciate them. Thegramco.com. TJ25. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this one is DFNS25. It doesn't matter. Whatever you use, you get 25% off. DFNS25, 25% off, the best when it comes to Delta 8 products. And then I'll finish up here. GarnetandGold.com. You can use code NOSLAW, NOSLAW, for all your Christmas shopping. You'll save 15%. You're going to buy FSU stuff for Christmas. Save 15% while you're doing it. Use code NOSLAW at GarnetandGold.com. Okay, so wasn't super thrilled with the defense. I think that I was talking with some people earlier. I think that now they did step up and they did make some plays when they needed to. They came out in the second half, and I think they got 3 straight stops in the second half. They were really good.
3 straight 3 and outs. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, really good in the third quarter. That's what lets you go down and get a 2-score lead after being down at half. And so I thought they were really good there in that quarter. But yeah, it's almost like, man, if you don't have the busted coverages or you don't give up the points at the end of the game, then you win this thing going away, right? Like if you hold Florida to 24 points, that's really good. So I just feel like you just can't do both, right? You can't have the busted coverages and give up the nickel and dime stuff on the last 2 drives, which is what they did. And so you got to play. I mean, if your strategy is to give up the underneath stuff and Florida's able to nickel and dime you for 5, 6, 7, 8 yards of play down the field, and they're able to do that efficiently, then that's fine. But you can't get beat deep twice like we did.
Yeah.
Or if your strategy is to be super aggressive and not let them nickel and dime you, and they hit a couple long passes for it, that's fine, but it needs to be one or the other, right? Like I thought the defense overall just wasn't very good. The offense absolutely won you the game. I'm not trying to be super negative, but it's a good thing that Jordan Travis and Trey Benson were as on as they were, because your defense was not very good last night. And it's a rivalry game. There's a lot of emotion, and Florida's got a good offense. Florida State's offense ranks 1 position ahead of Florida's. They're very similar offenses. But Florida State's defense ranks much, much better than Florida's. And Florida's defense wasn't good either, but I don't think Florida State's defense played up to what they should have last night. I think if Florida would have scored like 28 points or even that, I think would have been a little much. But if you'd have held Florida to like 24 in a game where there were a lot of possessions, Florida State scored a ton, so Florida got the ball a fair amount of times. I wasn't thrilled with the way the defense played. That said, the other 2 units picked you up. Special teams was good. Florida State's offense was obviously very good, and you don't always have to win all 3 on all 3 sides of the ball, right? And again, Florida State's defense, I think, let us down a little bit last night, but Florida's defense was really bad too. And so you had a little bit of a room for error there because You knew you were basically going to score at will against Florida. In the second half, when you got those stops, it was field goal, touchdown, punt. We had a sack there, and then a touchdown, right? So Florida State scored on 4 of its 5 second half possessions. In the first half, scored on you fumbled on the first drive, but then you scored on 1, 2, 3 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 possessions. Not as good on the offense in the first half, but one of those was a fumble, one of those was a turnover on downs, one of those was a missed field goal. Kind of shot yourself in the foot a little bit if you'd have converted on the 4th and 12, which that was kind of no man's land. That was kind of a tough one, or if you'd have made the field goal, things aren't as close as they may have seemed later. So overall, I mean, still thought pretty good. And at the end of the day, you're 2-0 against your rivals, so can't hate on that too much. You want to go through some of these and answer some questions in the chat, or you have any other thoughts on the game you want to talk about?
Yeah, real quick. Obviously the defense has looked great the past few weeks. I thought last night was a disappointment, but just let's go around the nation today. Clemson lost, giving up 31 to South Carolina today. Alabama won, but they gave up 27 to a bad Auburn team. Number 2, Ohio State gave up 45 to Michigan. Number 9, Oregon gave up 38, including 28 unanswered to Oregon State. So these things happen in college football. So as much as I'm disappointed with how the defense played, because I thought they could really shut this offense down, you know what? It just happens in college football, and I'm happy with Florida State. Mike Norvell said, you know what, Adam Fuller, I got you today. You give up these points, I'm going to score more. So I think that was a beautiful sight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. And like I said, you got you got to win, right? Which is what matters the most. So, all right, guys, if you're watching, if you're listening, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you thumbs up, like. We've got dozens of folks in here right now, almost up to triple digits. Make sure we're hitting that like button if you don't mind, or give us a comment if you have a question. Do bowl game yardage count towards season statistics? Yes, they do. All stats in a bowl game. That does definitely count for season stats. Do they move into the top 15 after all these losses ahead of them? Yeah. So I would be shocked if Florida State's not in the top 15. This ties in pretty well here, but for a little bit of a cheering guide, if you think there's a chance that Florida State could potentially make the Cotton Bowl, you basically need all the teams that are just right ahead of you to lose. So it'd be good if USC beat Notre Dame, get Notre Dame behind you. This is probably not likely, even with Hooker out, but if Vandy could upset Tennessee, that'd be a big one. If Kansas could upset Kansas State, again, these are teams just right ahead of you. Washington State beats Washington. Oregon State beats Oregon. That one may have already gone final. I don't know if you have that in front of you.
Which one was that?
Oregon State did.
Yeah, Oregon State did beat Oregon. Yep.
Yeah. So Oregon,
that's huge.
I think Oregon will fall behind us. Yeah. And then I know this one probably hurts, but I think it'd be good for Texas A&M to beat LSU. I know that's tough. You guys want Jimbo to lose, and I get it. But if LSU loses this week and then loses next week, they'll be ranked behind us again.
100%.
I think that would slot Alabama into the Sugar Bowl, and I think it would open up the door for Penn State to go to the Orange Bowl, because the Orange Bowl can take somebody from the Big Ten, they can take Notre Dame, or they can take somebody from the SEC. Penn State will be the highest ranked of all of those. That would put Penn State in the Orange Bowl and send us to the Cotton Bowl if you care about going to a New Year's Six Bowl. If you don't and you just want to play somewhere else, then just don't cheer for that. But I think Penn State's the one team that's ahead of us that just cannot lose because they don't play again. So we can't move ahead of Penn State. So you need LSU to, drop to A&M, lose to Georgia next week. Penn State can go to the Orange Bowl. We can slide to the Cotton Bowl. Again, if you don't care about a New Year's Six Bowl, and ignore all of that stuff. Let's see if we got anything else. Yeah, questions on UNC and Clemson. Orange Bowl is going to take the ACC champion. It's not who's ranked the highest. It is just the ACC champion. If a 6-6 Coastal team was to win the ACC championship, they would go to the Orange Bowl. Maybe that is kind of a dumb rule. Maybe it should just be the highest ranked ACC team just in case of that. But, conference championships have always been valued. So I guess I kind of understand that. Canes versus Gators in the non-graduate bowl. Wonder how many times this season the Noles had double-digit pass catchers. That's not something I can look up right now because it would take forever to do. But that's a good question. What about this? The first 4th and 12 call to go for it was somewhat questionable. I feel like it gave Florida hope there. I don't know. It was 4th and 12 from the 36. Fitzgerald's been better, but I just don't know if he's hitting a 53-yarder. I think you'd have really liked to picked up 5 or 6 yards on that third down, but there was a penalty. The penalty was declined, but you didn't get anything done on that third down. I don't know. I didn't have a huge problem with going that. You're not going to punt from the 36. You're not going to kick a field goal. I didn't really have a huge problem with going for that. Richie, you?
Yeah, not at all. I think that was perfectly fine because, again, right, and he missed another field goal last night, which really had my blood boiling, but I'm calmed down. Ryan, we're cool. I deleted my tweet saying we need to go to the portal and get you out of here. It's all good. But, seriously, you're on the 36-yard line. What are you supposed to do? Like, you go for that there. You have to. And especially as well as the defense has played the past 4 weeks, again, they weren't great last night, but they played well the previous 4 weeks. I'm perfectly fine with that decision to go for it there because it's still not a short field, so to speak. It's still you got to go 60 yards if you want a touchdown. So I had no problem with it at all. And I love Mike's aggressiveness, like going for it on 4th down. When he went for it on 4th and 21 against Syracuse, I loved that. So I had no problem with that decision at all.
Yeah. Here's a comment just saying that we're a little harsh on the defense. Maybe give some praise to the offense. Yeah, we spent the first 15 or so minutes of the video praising the offense and then, like 5 minutes on the defense. So I don't feel too bad about that. It does need to get it just needs to get better.
It has to.
It has to improve. You're not going to compete for I think 9-3 is really good for this year, but you're not going to compete for national championships if that doesn't get better. And you are going to lose some guys on that defense. You probably lose Jared Verse. You're definitely going to lose Fabian Levitt and Robert Cooper, Jamie Robinson, Akeem Dent. You're losing a lot of guys, and so it needs to improve. We wanted a great game, but did not crush the Gators. I said we crushed their spirit in the title, but I understand that comment.
Any win over the Gators is a great win.
I don't for sure.
And I told my wife, she's like, "You think you're going to win by a lot?" I'm like, "Yeah, I actually do. I think we're going to win by potentially 20 plus." And she's like, "Well, what if you guys only win by like 3?" I'm like, "I'm happy.
If we win, baby.
3-2. I'm happy in this rivalry because of how personal it is, especially because in the morning I lost a golf match and some money to a Gator, like one of my best friends who's CPF crap. So and make it even better, I gave him 10.5 points, so I had to pay him out this morning. But it's the best I've ever felt paying out a losing bet in my life, I think.
Yeah. Hey, you're still won. So, all right, cool. Thoughts on the bowl? We kind of give you a path there to the Orange Bowl. I'm sorry, to the Cotton Bowl. But you do think it's probably going to be the Cheez-It Bowl or the Gator Bowl, I assume.
Yeah. I think so. And selfishly, I want the Cheez-It Bowl, especially if we somehow do get Texas. I cannot think of a better matchup. If we go to the Texas Gator Bowl, like I'm happy with it because I don't know if I'll go though because we're gonna play a mid-level SEC team who I think will beat, so we'll be 3-0 versus the SEC. But give me Texas and Orlando because that just seems phenomenal. Florida State has never played Texas before, and I would love to see that happen.
I think that'd be a ton of fun. That would be a matchup I think I'd really, really like. I also think I would really like the idea of another SEC team in in the Jacksonville Bowl. So South Carolina would be one that I think is a ton of fun. I think Kentucky would be a lot of fun.
Shout out South Carolina, though. Shane Beamer, I think, is going to be a very good coach. I really do.
So, and I really like what he's done. The weirdest thing is how they lost to Florida and then, ended up knocking off Tennessee and Clemson in back-to-back weeks.
63 points.
Pretty impressive. So, I think South Carolina might have played their way into a better bowl than that. And so they might have, the SEC tie-ins are just a little different. So I think that they might end up in something like the Outback or something like that. Gator Troll in here talking about beating a young Gator team. Florida had, so want to give you guys a stat that I saw. I'll find this on social media, and then we will Richie, if you've got anything else, we'll hit it, and if not, we'll get out of here. But what I saw is that the blue chip ratio. Did you see that today? Did you see that?
Yes, sir.
That tweet. Florida's blue chip ratio is well up over 50. I don't see it right here on my timeline. So I'm not going to spend all day looking for it. But I did pull this up. Florida has 5 former 5-stars on its roster,
including number 5, who got destroyed by Trey Benson last night. Go to my Twitter, look at the video, watch it, enjoy it.
Florida State has 0 former 5-stars. Florida has 39 4-stars, and Florida State has 30. So you're talking about a difference of 44 to 30, right? Florida's blue chip ratio is over 50%. Florida State's is 35%. Florida was on paper, more talented team than FSU and still lost the game. I think that comes down to coaching. I think that comes down to culture. I do think Billy Napier will do fine long term. I don't think he ever wins a national championship or anything like that, but I do think he'll do fine. But they had more talent last night and they still lost. So, and the SEC refs and everything.
And they were lucky to be in the game, quite frankly. Like
they were.
Them complaining about the refs is hilarious to me because we all watched the same game. Like, oh, there was a face mask on Anthony Richardson on that last play. Yeah. Well, guess what? He had a face mask on the exact same play before that one. No, give me a break. The refs did nothing but help Florida, and Florida State still won, and which I love because I hate losing games and having to blame the refs, and we don't have to do that because I thought we played pretty average at best. The refs were against us and still beat our most hated rival, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, Florida is just not good. So, all right. You have anything else before we get out of here, Richie? We've been on for about 20 minutes. We wanted to go for about 30. Any other thoughts on the game? On anything else going on? Where you at, man?
Just happy with 9-3. Some of you will notice I'm wearing a houndstooth hat. I told the wife if Alabama beat Auburn in the Iron Bowl, I would wear her Alabama hat, but I put it backwards because did not want the logo on the screen. But man, I just love college football. The weekend of Thanksgiving, the Michigan-Ohio State game was a ton of fun until Michigan just ran away with it. I was shocked. But yeah, shout out Alabama, shout out the wife, Lindsay. I had a blast this weekend. This household could not have had a better football weekend.
Well, let's hope Pittsburgh can finalize it for us and really.
Well, you got to pay $1 to go to that game if you want. So I don't know if
I saw the tickets to the Pitt Miami game. Yeah, we're going for $1 on StubHub today, which I believe is the lowest you can sell them for. I don't think you can go under that. So that game starts here in just a minute. So we'll get off and we'll watch it. We'll laugh at the Canes. It is hilarious to watch the Gator Bros with their moral victories. Congratulations on being close last night. I hope that makes it hurt worse to the Gator fans in the chat that are, enjoying the moral victory of being close, I guess. Good job. Good job being close against Tennessee. Good job making the game close against LSU. Good job making the game close against Kentucky. Good job making the game close against Vandy late. Good job making the game close against Georgia in the third quarter. And good job getting your 6th close loss against Florida State to go to 6-6. Congratulations on being close.
Bowl. Yeah, have fun in the Gasparilla Bowl.
Yeah, congratulations on being close to UF. We are very proud of you. Struggling with Miami to try and get bowl eligibility. So, all right, big
real
shout out.
Real quick, TJ. Texas A&M, LSU. Who do we want to win tonight? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but brief conversation.
Yeah, I think if you can get to a New Year's Six bowl, you get a bigger payout. It's more exposure. I want to cheer for that as long as I can. If a bunch of those other games that I listed in the thing kind of go the other way, I think, I'll probably lean A&M there just because I do want to get to a New Year's Six bowl if possible.
Is it the best win-win situation ever to where like LSU wins? That makes our win in the first game of the season look that much better.
Oh, yeah.
But if they lose, that's great too. Like I think it's just a win-win for Florida State fans.
Yeah. Either way, we're either going to make fun of Jimbo or we're going to have either way, we're going to win this. So big shout out to our women's soccer team who advanced to the 13th College Cup in program history, defeating Arkansas 1-0. Really, really excited for them. Really excited. We've had Brian Pinsky, their head coach, on the show before in the past, several of their athletes and players. So we are very excited for them. They'll take on North Carolina later. I think it's next week. So shout out to I think it's next Friday because then you play the championship on Sunday. You get a day off. So shout out to the women's soccer team, Brian Pinsky and the ladies for making it back to the College Cup, essentially the Final Four. If you're not super familiar with it. So all right, appreciate you guys for hanging out. Again, make sure you hand tissues and napkins to your Gator bros that have to celebrate moral victories for the next 365 days. Let's go to Gainesville and beat that tail again next year too. So, all right, TJ Pinger, thank you, Salomon Digital Marketing, Gramco, and Garnet and Gold for your support. Richie, hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving. I know you had a great Black Friday. We'll be back soon with more content. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Talk to you guys soon. Go Noles.